Graph elements are entities that appear on the graph that shows us what are the relationships between the different entities in the WebPad platform, if it's another people or if it's another web components or if it's some requests that were made by people. And also it enables us to understand more about the web elements. It's the representation of the web elements in the social graph, and it enables us to ask questions regarding the web elements. It enables us to understand how to use it, what it can do. Let's see how we can work with it. This is the designer. The designer actually enables us to weld different web elements and to combine them, to connect between them, make them interact or create a more complex web element. Now it's built from different web elements. This is a web element, and this is a web element, and this is a web element. For example, let's take this web element. This web element name, we can see it in here in the elements. Here we can see animated sample solution. Each click will will change the web element that is displayed here. Now, this is not the graph. This is the web element, this is the graph element, but it's not the graph itself. In order to see this web element in the graph, we should click on this eye. Once we click on the eye, it will open us the graph, and it will display us the graph element representing this web element, and we'll be able to see its ecosystem. So what we can learn from it, we can learn that it was created by this user. This WebPad user created this animated sample solution, and animated sample solution is using the following web components in his solution. So probably the code uses those web components inside. This is his relation. If there's some other components that are using this web element, then we're gonna see lines, relations between the other components and this animated sample solution. Now let's learn about what the actions that we can do regarding the web components. So first of all, we can see there's a description. I am the owner, so I can edit the description. I can add some more comments. We can ask question regarding this web component, what and how. The messages will appear on the wall of anyone that has an interest or had an interaction with this web element. Anyone that has interest or has had an interaction with this web element will have a relation with this web element. So what and how, and this message will appear on the wall. And it shows us how to embed it inside an HTML or inside a different web component. Now it's also some other functionalities that we can use. These functionalities are regarding not completely external, it's actually launches. For example, this one launches a preview of the web element. So in this case, we're going to click on it, and it shows us a preview of the web element. It also enables us to open it on the designer if we want to modify it. And this is the designer that actually shows us the code of this web element. We can change the style. For example, we can change this color to be not purple but bluish, and change the text. This is normal designer functionality. Also, this one enables us to open it in an edit mode, editor, a simple editor, which I find it very useful because the designer actually recreates the code every time, and once you create a complex code, then the designer ain't gonna help you because it helps us getting started. But if we really diving into deep functionality and make complex things, the designer will not can help us to a certain extent. This is the web element code behind. Actually, it's more or less like the designer code behind, but this one is more static. It's easier to edit. And there's also the metadata. The metadata shows us, it gives instructions to the designer of how to use this web element. First of all, this is the link that actually we need to do in order to instruct if it's an HTML or if it's another web element that we want to embed our web element, or the designer on what we need to import in order to get the core MyCard functionalities. In here, we've got a simple template of the HTML syntax that we want to embed in order to see this component. And in here, we can see the different properties that actually the designer will enable the user to edit in order to control this web controller component. So this is the ecosystem and how we can interact with the web element using the graph element. Now, if I click on the social on this button, then the wall will open. This is the wall. Here we can see all the things that have changed, and to get notified if somebody asked me a question, or to get to see status changes on things that I had an interest in. So for example, I can see messages that I wrote on a forum and any other updates that are in my context. There's also the wall. This was the wall, for example, enabled us first to change my profile. Would like to change the name that represents me. For example, the name that represents me is Wellped. I can change it to whatever I want from here, and to choose the avatar and then to save. Also, I can upload a resource. I can choose a file and give it a name, and once I do that, it will enable me to upload the resource, and that's how we can upload, for example, images that we want to use, and more. There's the social help, which will which there's more info in the guide itself, the social network guide. You'll see a specific guide about this.